It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Dan Flanigan. Hi, Dan. How are you?
I'm in good shape.
Well, happy to hear that. Nice to have you on the show.
I don't necessarily mean physically, but yes.
I got a note here that says that you want to cover your Peter O'Keefe series.
Yes.
Okay, because I've got sort of two different things here. One is that, and then the other one is a book called Dewdrops. So you want to cover all of them, right? Okay.
I think Mickey sent that Dewdrops in, and I like that book a lot. It was one of the first I published. It's a book of short fiction. But I think the more important thing to emphasize right now is that series, because the fourth book, I just finished it, will be coming out in the spring. So I just thought maybe that's a better thing to emphasize at this point.
Okay. Well, we can cover that and then just mention the other one at the end.
Yeah, but I don't mind. I really, whatever anybody wants to talk about is okay with me.
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about the series, generally speaking.
Yeah, it is the notion about the series, which begins in 1986, is the first book. And the idea is to take this private detective and the circle of characters around him that, have already been added to somewhat and would be in the future, from then all the way up to the present day, or at least as far as I can get before I pass away, and sort of tell the history of our times through those characters and this guy's adventures and so on. So the first book, and by the way, though, I'm now just finished the fourth book, and I haven't made it out at 1988 yet. The 80s is just too good. But the first book focuses on a mink farm scam with the mafia penetration into all that. The second one is really more sort of mafia stuff, and O'Keefe struggles with them, plus some various other plots, and that continues. The first three books, in a way, are kind of a trilogy in the sense of they stand alone, but one book sort of sets up a problem at the end that the other ones kind of follow up on.
Oh, I see. Okay. Tell us a little about Detective Peter O'Keefe.
This guy is a smart guy, lost his way, is a Vietnam vet, ended up, with a cocaine habit and an alcohol habit and all those things, and really was on the verge of the gutter in prison when he was sort of rescued by his childhood buddy, a lawyer named Mike Harrigan, who said, I got a deal with the prosecutor. I'm going to take responsibility for you and make you into my private detective, and eventually you can get out on your own. And so sort of Harrigan pulls him out of it, and the first three books are somewhat this guy, struggling to right his ship, if you will, and he's divorced. He's got a daughter who's starts out in the first book at 8 or 9 years old, and they have a good relationship, and she becomes sort of a character sometimes and has her own subplots and so on.
Was he anyone that you know in real life, or sort of a...
I myself am a lawyer and have been involved in all kinds of financial related stuff over a long career, and have seen a lot. And for example, one of the books has a major subplot on the S&L scandal of the 80s and 90s, which was a huge problem. And I myself, as a young lawyer, got involved in, I don't mean I was one of the bad guys, in a mink farm kind of scam. So some of that is but I really try not to just make it about myself or whatever. So it's very, very fictional.
Well, one of the talking points on here that I was sort of alluding to was it says how his experiences as a lawyer shaped his books. So was it just things that you sort of experienced over your career that might have added certain elements to your stories?
Yeah. Well, for example, the mink farm thing was just an incredible thing. I mean, to have been involved in. I didn't even know what a mink farm was. I was a young lawyer working for a bank. It was a Ponzi scheme type thing. A lot of bilked investors, and the bank was losing money. And I ended up going down in kind of an investigative way down into the Missouri Ozarks, working on this thing. And I just from that kind of moment said, someday I got to turn this into a book. And ultimately got a chance. I rushed to say, though, that everything but the setting and the business is completely fictional.
So this mink farm was something that people were supposed to invest in with a potential return, and then the money just vanished, or the person doing it vanished or something?
Yeah, and just kind of, in a way, frittered away. And in the book, it's a money laundering scheme where the mafia takes over. I mean, it begins as just a guy trying to make some money, and with this mink farm idea, and he wasn't very good at it. It was an ill-conceived thing. But the mafia, come in, take over, and use it as a cover for money laundering and drug smuggling and everything else.
Also on your talking point says how your books differ from crime novel thrillers on the market today. What makes yours unique?
Yeah, that may be saying a little too much in the sense of I really don't necessarily know a whole lot about what my genre, if you will, what's going on there. The first book, Mink Eyes, is to me a kind of coming-of-age redemption story, and I just thought I'd make it interesting by putting it into this crime detective sort of format, and I did have this incident in my own experience that I could at least draw on for the basic starting premise. So if they are truly different, it's because they really are novels that just happen to have crime detective fiction. There's a lot of things in them that aren't just pure plot, if you will.
Can you compare yourself to somebody else in your style?
I'm not sure that it's right so much. The person, in a way, if I said who's influenced me, I don't know, except that I can remember being, when I was younger, reading Ross MacDonald's books and being very impressed by him. And that's a Lou Archer character, and then a book that always completely impressed me was a book called Dog Soldiers by Robert Stone, and so that's about all I can offer in the way of possible influences or whatever.
Okay. Something as a side note that I see here, it says you and your wife opened an addiction treatment center.
Yes.
Tell us a little about that. Why'd you do that?
Well, first I went to treatment myself. All right.
Okay.
I'm a recovering alcoholic. 40 years sober, one day at a time, and this is when I was 35 years old, and I was very disaffected with about everything, including my profession, including my town, including my marriage, including everything. And I crashed somewhat. Never really failed or anything like that as a lawyer, but just was really out of control and heading for big trouble. And somebody intervened on me and sent me to treat. And as I was in treatment there, I kind of looked around and sort of added up, multiplied what I was paying versus the number of people there, and what I guessed they were paying the counselors and so on. I said, this is interesting. This is a good way to live your life or do something. So I came out of that place, and within 6 months, and it was a true partnership. My wife really, my marriage was really up for grabs at that point, and she just jumped into that in a partner kind of way with me, and we established a place called Sierra Tucson. That I could not keep hold of it because I had everything except capital, and it needed more time to get going than I had to be able to support it. So I had to sell it to keep it going. But I mean, it's a very famous place today. 400 employees, all kinds of programs, and so on. So it was a good thing to do, not necessarily for me in a bank account sort of way, but in the way of a mission, if you will, and that I think probably really helped me get on the right road to sobriety personally, and ended up helping a lot of other people, thousands, over the years.
Oh, that's great. We've got just a couple minutes left, so I want to get Dewdrops in there. Tell us a little bit about this one.
Dewdrops is a novella bookended by 2 long short stories. The short story, the first short story, is called Some Cold War Blues, and it's about a 10, 11-year-old kid back in the 50s, with a difficult family situation that gets into a neighborhood snowball fight, and it's just about a kid struggling to sort of survive in those days and in a difficult situation. The second one takes place in a treatment center, and that's actually called Dewdrops. I took a play that I started out writing plays, and right off the bat, I got a stage reading in New York, but the problem is I never knew how to go anywhere in the theater. So I took that and made it into a novella, and it's really a tragedy that's in a treatment center setting about a counselor and a group of patients. And then the final one is called On the Last Frontier, and it's about an old woman in Juneau, Alaska. And the catchphrase is old and cold in Juneau with winter coming on. It's about her life and the mistakes she's made that's got her in this position, and how she's able to sort of survive her own mistakes and where she's ended up in the world.
Well, I think on that we're going to wind this down. Thank you so much for coming on this show. My guest is Dan Flanigan, and you've got 3 books in the Peter O'Keefe series, plus a book called Dewdrops. All your books are available. I assume they're all out, right?
Yes, yeah, all available in both paperback, ebooks. The O'Keefe books are all audio books too. Oh,
all right.
As well.
Last question: do you have a website that you want to give out?
Yeah, please. Dan Flanigan Books. It's that simple.
DanFlaniganBooks.com.
Spell .com. Flanigan spelled a little funny. Flanigan.
All right, great. Well, Dan, thanks so much for coming on this show. It was nice talking to you, and best of luck with all your work. We look for the 4th book in the series to come out. Do you know when that's coming?
It'll be May or June.
Oh, okay, fairly soon. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we look forward to that.
It's ready. I just got to, get the review thing going.
All right, very good. Well, thanks again for coming on this show.
Thank you.